Welcome back to Vigyan. We will be discussing a new lesson, that is life processes. This is probably one of the most important lessons because the topics that you will study in this lesson will be carried on in your class 11 biology also. So let's get started. Life processes, as you can understand, these are a set of different processes or mechanisms which will enable a living being to continue and survive. What are these life processes? Before that, we have to understand the difference between a living being and a non-living organism. What differentiates life from non-living things? One of the most important features is cellular organization. Living beings have an organized cellular structure. That is why viruses are considered as non-living entities because they do not have an organized cellular structure. In some organisms, they can have only one cell, whereas others are multicellular. In multicellular organisms, the complexities will increase. The second factor is growth. Over a period of time, organisms grow. This could be increase in their length, increase in surface area, increase in volume, or increase in number. All this show that an organism is growing. What helps an organism to grow? For example, if you talk about the molecular level, more number of molecules need to be created in order for an organism to grow. So where are these molecules present? All these molecules are present inside a cell. This could be carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, amino acids, etc. So there is a constant making of new molecules, and as the cell ages or an organism ages, the molecules are also being broken down. So in a living organism, the making of molecules and breaking down of molecules is a constant process. Every day, a billion cells are lost and new cells take their place. Some of the cells, they get repaired also. So a constant input of energy is always required to help in the maintenance of these molecules and the cells. So all these reactions we can put together and call it as metabolic reactions or metabolism. So metabolism refers to all the biochemical reactions taking place in our body, right from taking in air, that is oxygen, taking in food, and this food is being digestion, and the food that is broken down with the help of oxygen, it produces energy which is required for maintenance of an organism. So all these processes together are called as metabolism. Now energy is produced by food which is taken from outside. This process of taking in the food and obtaining energy, it will differ from one organism to another organism. For instance, a simple unicellular organism such as amoeba, bacteria or paramecium, because they have only one cell, and the entire cell is in contact with the outside environment, they don't require any specialized structures for obtaining the food and breaking down the food and transporting the energy to different parts of the cell, because they have only one cell. Simple diffusion, that is movement from outside higher concentration to inside, will take place. Whereas in multicellular organisms, complex organisms, since there are many layers of cells, simple diffusion will not be sufficient for these maintenance processes. Then we find organs and organ systems which will take care of these functions. For instance, the food that is broken down in the digestive system, the nutrients should now be transported to all the parts of the body. For this, a specialized system is available, that is the transportation system or the circulation system. Now, when these nutrients are being utilized for the growth of the cells, certain other byproducts or waste products are also obtained. So, a system is required to collect all these waste products from different parts of the body, and it needs to be filtered in a particular area. Now, that system is called as the excretory system. This system is responsible for both collection of the waste byproducts and also discarding them outside the body, because if these byproducts they accumulate in the cells, it can result in damage to the cells and it can also result in death of the cells. So specialized systems are present in multicellular organisms. Organs are present. Of course, living organisms, they reproduce. But reproduction is not a very important factor, because we know certain living beings, they are unable to reproduce. So in this, especially point number 1 and point number, they differentiate a living being from a non-living being. So let us start with the discussion of metabolism, wherein we will discuss the important biochemical reactions going on in different organisms, right from single-celled unicellular organisms to complex multicellular organisms like plants and animals. Nutrition is the mode through which organisms they obtain the food. In respiration, this food is broken down to produce energy, which is required for all these processes. In circulation, important essential components are transported to different parts of the body. Not only that, the waste products are also collected and then sent to the excretion system. In the excretory system, the waste products are discarded and the useful substances are retained by the cells. So we will discuss about all these 4 topics in detail. Let us begin with the first topic, that is nutrition. Nutrition, it is nothing but the process by which an organism obtains food from outside environment. Why is food required? Because food is the source of energy that is required for the maintenance of all the life processes. Now, different organisms adapt different strategies in order to obtain food. Some organisms, they can prepare their own food by using the raw materials present in the environment. Such organisms which can prepare their own food in their cells are called as autotrophic organisms or autotrophs. And another set of organisms, they are dependent on the autotrophs for their food. They cannot prepare their own food. Such organisms are called as heterotrophs, and the mode of nutrition is called as heterotrophic nutrition. Let us discuss autotrophic nutrition first. Example for organisms that prepare their own food include plants, certain bacteria and also certain protozoans like Euglena, in bacteria, a specialized group of bacteria called as cyanobacteria, they prepare their own food. Rest all the organisms come under heterotrophs. Autotrophs, they use different sources for preparing their food. Organisms, for example, plants, they use light as a source of energy for preparing their food. So plants are called as photoautotrophs. Whereas bacteria, for example, nitrogen fixing bacteria or sulfur bacteria or iron bacteria, they use certain inorganic chemicals to synthesize their food. So they are called as chemoautotrophic organisms. So photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. So let us discuss about the mode of nutrition in plants. How do plants prepare their own food using light? This process is called as photosynthesis. Synthesize means to prepare. Photo means light. Using light, plants prepare their own food. So, what are the raw materials required for preparing the food? Plants use carbon dioxide and water mainly, and they require sunlight. These are the raw materials which plants utilize to prepare their food. The food is prepared in the form of glucose, and for future use, plants will convert this glucose into starch. So when they require it, they can break down this starch and produce glucose. Summarizing the entire process of photosynthesis, so we can write it with the help of equation, that is carbon dioxide plus water, which are the two raw materials, with the help of sunlight. That's why it's called as photo, using sunlight. And how do they absorb the sunlight? So the main organs that help in absorbing the sunlight are the plant leaves. For a smaller extent, even stems also can absorb, but 95% of the photosynthetic process takes place in the leaves. In the leaves, inside the cells, they have specialized structures called as chloroplasts, organelles called as chloroplasts. They contain the pigment called as chlorophyll. This pigment chlorophyll is responsible for the green color of the plants, and this helps in absorbing the sunlight. Ultimately, the product is glucose, C6H12O6, and in the process, oxygen is released. So plants take in carbon dioxide, and as a byproduct, oxygen is produced. This entire process can be summarized in the form of 3 steps. During the daytime, when sunlight is available in abundance, plants absorb the sunlight. So once the sunlight is absorbed, this light is absorbed in the form of small packets of energy called as photons. The second step is converting this light energy into chemical energy. So, what is the energy conversion that is taking place in the photosynthetic process? Sunlight, light energy is converted into chemical energy, and in the process what happens? Water is broken down, a photolytic decomposition. Water is broken down with the help of light energy, so to produce oxygen. So the oxygen that is produced, it is coming from water, not from carbon dioxide. So these steps take place during the daytime: absorption of sunlight and converting the sunlight into chemical energy. During the night time, in most of the plants, what happens? This chemical energy is used to reduce carbon dioxide into glucose, that is carbohydrate. So this is the final chemical energy, that is glucose, which is stored. For producing this, we require other type of chemical energy, which is what is called as ATP. All the energy produced is stored in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So in the daytime, the energy is used and ATP is produced. During the night time, using this ATP, adenosine triphosphate, carbon dioxide is reduced to give you glucose. See, this is an example for oxidation reduction reaction. This is carbon dioxide. What happens to carbon dioxide? Hydrogen is added. We know addition of hydrogen is an example for reduction reaction. So, reduction of carbon dioxide to give you carbohydrates. And what is happening here? In this reaction, hydrogen is removed. So, this is an example for oxidation. Splitting of water is oxidation. All these steps, they take place one after the other. They need not take place in the same sequence. For example, in desert plants where you know water scarcity is present, so if they go for the same process, what will happen? They will end up losing water. Why? Now let us understand how plants obtain all these raw materials. How do plants get carbon dioxide? How do plants get water? So the carbon dioxide, it comes from the atmosphere, in the air. How do plants get it? In the plant leaves, there are small structures called as stomata. So with the help of stomata, plants absorb the carbon dioxide. The structure of stomata, it contains epidermal cells and specialized kidney-shaped cells called as guard cells. The two guard cells, they enclose a small pore called as stomatal pore or stomatal opening. The opening and closing of this pore is controlled by the guard cells. When water enters into the guard cell will undergo swelling and the stomatal pore will open. This is during the daytime. And when the guard cells lose water, when water is taken out, the guard cells will shrink and the stomatal pore will close. So, opening and closing of the stomatal pore is controlled by the guard cell. So, through the stomata, plants obtain the carbon dioxide. If the desert plants were to open their stomata during the daytime, in the process of taking of carbon dioxide, it will also lead to loss of water, which is dangerous to them. So what do? In the night time, desert plants will convert carbon dioxide into a intermediate form. During the daytime, their stomata remain closed. Using the light energy, they then convert this intermediate form into a source of carbohydrate. How does plant obtain water? Through the roots from the soil. Also essential nutrients such as magnesium, iron, nitrogen, phosphorus, all these are required for proper growth of the plant. All these are obtained by the soil. Especially plants obtain nitrogen in the form of nitrites and nitrates. These are fixed from the atmosphere. The atmospheric nitrogen is converted into nitrites and nitrates. The nitrates are absorbed by the roots and taken in by the plants. So that is the process of photosynthesis.